Hello everybody and welcome back to the Fortress of Solitude. Today we're going to be checking out Kneel Before Zod issue 4 by Joe Casey and Dan McDade. Zod mourns the death of his wife Ursa and unborn child, showing a very rare moment of vulnerability as he prays to gods he has long forsaken in the hope that his wife and unborn child will find their way in the afterlife. It's honestly a really sweet and sad moment, and it's fun seeing Zod going through with a Kryptonian funeral ritual because he knows his wife would have wanted that, and he wants to give his wife one last thing of love that he can. After burying his wife and unborn child, Zod sees to the bottled city of Kandor, which survived the Khund attack, but Zod knows more attacks will come, so to ensure their safety, he seals the city in a crystal pod and blasts it into space, echoing Kal-El's departure from the doomed Krypton decades before. It's funny since between this sequence and the opening funeral pyre, Zod feels more and more like Jor-El, and he will never admit that, but it's extremely rewarding to see that evolution of the character over these 4 issues. Speaking of Jor-El, the man reappears to Zod as he is enacting the Omega Protocols, which will further protect his planet and people. I really like the characterization of Jor-El here because we know it's like Zod's memory of Jor-El, so he's kind of put his own sort of spin on what Jor-El was actually like, and this Jor-El now is like really condescending to him and insulting, much like how he viewed Jor-El, even though Jor-El was nothing like that. But because Zod is so set in his ways and was so against everything that Jor-El stood for, this is how he saw the man, and I like that that's how his mind is showing him that, and I took it as his mind trying to do anything to rile him up and revert him back to, you know, the bloodthirsty General Zod that he once was, while Zod is actively trying to fight against that. That's what I find so bloody interesting about this book, is doing Zod in a completely different way, totally opposite to what you think his character should be in a book, and it just works. Joe has made Zod more interesting than he has been since, I want to say, the War for New Krypton, a story that's over a decade old at this point, and it's been a long while since he's had any sort of actual characterization outside of evil Superman general guy, which he usually is played as. Zod finishes enacting the Omega Protocol, which fully cloaks the planet, hiding its existence from anyone and anything. With his planet and people secure, the only thing left for Zod to do is get some sweet revenge, and he does just that, taking the Khund head on and obliterating their command. But not before learning that they found out about his planet and superweapon thanks to interrogating his son Lor-Zod, who, if you remember, was exiled in issue 2 from New Kandor, and whose adventures are continuing over in Sinister Sons, and it's where that interrogation took place. Zod's anger gets the better of him, and he ends up causing the ship to go into meltdown, and the Khund, realizing what Zod is doing, resign themselves to their fate. And I think that was a really neat scene. It was not something you see all too often, but I like this idea that there's these people who are attacked by a Kryptonian and they realize that they are being attacked by a Kryptonian, something that's literally unstoppable in the larger scheme of things, and they just realize that and they're like, well, we're gonna die here, we might as well just accept our fate, there's no way out of this at all. And it's not something you see all that too often because obviously Superman doesn't go around killing people, so to get that with Zod is really quite cool and really terrifying as well. It just shows that if there were a couple more of these guys just floating about like they are on the bottled city of Kandor, then this could have happened all over the galaxy, and it's pretty terrifying to think of. Now, thanks to the ship being powered by a white dwarf, it explodes, obliterating itself, the Khund, and Zod as well, who is burned to a crisp and then flash frozen in the vacuum of space. However, we find out that he is still very much alive as a passing ship takes him on board and carries him off into the unknown. With Ursa dead, Lor-Zod gone, the new Kandor now off the board, and the bottled city of Kandor launched back into space, the book has essentially reset itself to focus solely on Zod and his journey now, thrusting him off on his own into the galaxy. This is a pretty big thing to happen, especially just 4 issues in, but I trust Joe and Dan to deliver a compelling story with Zod and wherever he takes him. I'm also looking forward to seeing if a lot of the stuff that happened in this, specifically the bottled city of Kandor being launched out into space, has anything to do with the currently running House of Brainiac storyline, since Zod made a big play to get the bottled city of Kandor, and this seems like it might be an idea to get that into that story, into the House of Brainiac story, and maybe this is even a way to get Zod over into that storyline in some way, and him getting an interaction with Superman would actually be pretty on point with the stories that are running in this book as well as over in the Superman books, since they've all been about family in some way. We've had Zod's family and how he's dealing with it. Superman and his family have been a big part of that book ever since Philip Kennedy Johnson took over, and then obviously Joshua Williamson as well. So it would be cool to see these two books sort of clash together and these sort of opposing sides of family and what family means. That would actually be really cool to see that happen, as well as it would be cool to see Zod interacting with Superman again, since it's been quite a while since the start of Rebirth. So it would be really cool to reunite these guys again, especially with a Zod who's now changed as well. He's gone through some character development. So what does he now think of Superman? Especially because Jor-El is like hounding him in his head. I'd be interested to see what he thinks of his son now. Kneel Before Zod continues to exceed all my expectations, delivering great action and even better character work. As of the end of this issue, the book has pretty much reset itself, and I'm really looking forward to see where Joe Casey and Dan McDade are going to take it now that Zod is loose in the universe. I am going to give this issue a 10 out of 10.